turn! Pick on someone your own size!
Hey everybody, it's Marshall Monkey here, visiting my The Flash Season 3, Episode 13 review. We did get a lot this episode, a tease of Killer Frost, we got a little bit of Cisco stuff that possibly might happen in the next episode or two. We are going to be focusing a lot on Grodd in the next episode though, so we can't plan on seeing anything with Cisco develop. We got a lot of Wally training, and we did get a little bit with some Easter eggs from the comics, pointing to some abilities that Barry has discovered in this episode and some possible theories of what abilities both Wally and Barry will be able to have in the next couple of episodes leading up to the season finale. So we'll talk about it all. But anyway, it starts with Barry training Wally. We had a huge race in the beginning of the episode. I love the races that they do on the show. I think it's fantastic to see them do this because it's fun watching two speedsters go up against each other, especially when Wally is like super overconfident about it. It was so funny to see him like try to challenge Barry, like literally up front, hey, I'm gonna take you down. And I love that they even betted on it. Like, you know, HR was like, hey, let's put 200 down. Betting was banned on my world. So I was freaking out. I was like, oh, HR, everything's banned on your world. That's why you're here. No, but in all honesty, it was fun to see them bet against Wally and Barry. So I liked that quite a bit. But Barry is trying to teach Wally everything he knows, kind of how Jay Garrick, or Hunter Zolomon, the fake Jay, Hunter Zolomon has taught him, although Jay Garrick, the real Jay Garrick, has taught him a few things as well. And also how Eobard Thawne taught him when he was posing as Wells in Season 1. So Barry's trying to fill that position for Wally. Or, you know, it's really difficult, though, because Barry can't, he doesn't really know how to be a teacher yet. So he's still learning, trying to figure out the balance between, being a teacher, but also trying to still be his own character. And I like that everyone's kind of learning. Caitlin's learning to be in control of Killer Frost. Cisco is learning to have his new abilities that Gypsy teased. So there's everything. Everybody's pretty much learning. Julian's learning not to be a total jerk. So it's really interesting to see all of them try to learn with each other because they're all at the same level at this point in the series. So I like that quite a bit. Now, we did get a new villain, and we did get a new metahuman in this episode. It's a villain from the comics. He is, has the same ability. When he touches things, they die, basically. How Barry explained it is that they turn to ash, so I don't know if that's true in the comics. It looks like they're just dying, as you can see here from Barry in the comics. They fixed it by burying him underground. In this episode, they transfer blood from Wally into his system. Julian found the solution to this metahuman problem, and I really like how they're making him more useful in this episode. He has a lot to do, especially with Caitlin. There's a lot to do with both those characters in this episode because of their science ability. They're totally shipping them together, which I totally love, but I think that they're much more useful. Now, Iris was the big thing in this episode because she was so worried that it's not going to change. The timeline's not going to change and that she's going to die in the future. Luigi's restaurant, that stayed the same. Like, Luigi's did reopen. That's part of the timeline that will stay the same. There's going to be parts of the timeline that do change, parts that don't. We're going to have to wait and see which events unfold and actually come true, which is really exciting, too, because you get to kind of have more shock value when we find out which things do happen and which don't. So I like it. It's kind of like a surprise, but without the actual surprise part. Now, this was great. I love Cecile's daughter coming to town. I thought that was actually really cool. I didn't even think she would have a daughter, but she has. But, she did say that earlier in the season, but I didn't think that they would actually bring her on. So I thought that was really interesting that they did bring her in here. I thought that she might have had, some kind of twist. Maybe she was a metahuman, but they kind of, left her as a normal character, which is fine. But I love how she was, all Team Kid Flash, and then everyone was like, well, what about Team Barry? And then Joe had to choose, and it was like, oh, this is awkward. I love that. It's like choosing between his children, but they don't know that they're both his sons. Barry kind of balances out the whole Kid Flash glory. Wally is so in the spotlight right now. Barry balances that out by doing the whole vibrating through the train thing. We'll talk about that later on in the review. But both of them will have their moments. It's just telling you, hey, people are going to argue over both of them. They're going to be both the main focus for the rest of the season. We got to get used to having two Flashes, and I love how they're playing around with it because it just makes it much more fun for not only us, but for the actual characters. So I loved it. I thought it was great. Again, Caitlin and Julian, both really useful this episode. And Caitlin is doing a lot more biology type work. She did an autopsy in this episode, which is so crazy because I don't think we've ever seen her do one on the show. Her and Julian have great chemistry. They also work kind of well together. Caitlin's still kind of, upset about how Julian is very much still a jerk. But they work well together, and I like how they're kind of shipping them together. Again, it's really great to see it unfold. So I think that both of them are really useful this episode, and I like it. Now, Wally was frustrated a lot in this episode because he couldn't get it. Barry's still trying to teach him, but he has to get what he's teaching, and he didn't get it. And it's really interesting because he's gonna have to we're gonna have to relearn and kind of experience how Barry learned in season 1 and 2, and Wally's trying to teach himself those things, like phasing. That was one of the things that he had to learn this episode. All speedsters have different abilities. All of them have different kinds of things they can do in the comics that some of them can't do. So we're going to have to wait and see if Wally can even teach Barry some things. We'll see. But he couldn't save Iris in that, moment, and that's going to really turn tables on him, not only in this episode, but maybe for the next couple of episodes. I hope that he tries to bang himself, beat himself up over it, but I also hope that he has one of those big teaching moments that, used to happen with Barry in season 1. Now, Cisco, we got a tease of his powers. He actually vibed Flashpoint to find out who was the next target. Gypsy said he had powers that he couldn't even imagine he could do yet, and couldn't even, learn at this point in his vibe stage. So I like how he vibed some of the targets. Well, I guess the last target. Julio Mendez, who was one of the targets in this episode, was actually a character from the original Flash series with John Wesley Shipp. So John Wesley Shipp, he plays Barry's dad, now Jay Garrick, and Julio Mendez was the actor from the original Flash series. So I like that. I like that they're kind of bringing back old actors. They did the thing with Mark Hamill, where he became the Trickster on this show. So they're doing that with Julio Mendez, except Julio's a different, separate character completely, but it's the same actor. So I like that. I thought that was really cool, like a calling back to the original series. Now, Killer Frost. Caitlin, oh my gosh. Please be Killer Frost. I love when Caitlin becomes Killer Frost. It's so fun. It's like, oh my gosh. Except in this episode, it was kind of off because I feel like they didn't have enough time to really kind of dive into it. Killer Frost is only fun if you have a whole episode devoted to her, because it's more time to just keep watching her, snowball into this villain. And I feel like, even her line was so funny. Oh, it looks like she's gonna die. I was cracking up. I was like, oh, I love you, Killer Frost. Please stay. We will get more Killer Frost. As you can see, Julian talked her out of being Killer Frost in the episode. So it could change, the whole Killer Frost still at large headline. That could change for the future. She could not turn into Killer Frost. What I really hope happens is that Julian becomes Dr. Alchemy, and she becomes Killer Frost because he's Dr. Alchemy. He kind of convinces Killer Frost to take over, and then they both run off together, and they do the same thing that Deathstorm and Caitlin did. They were a couple together, kind of Bonnie and Clyde style, except with Dr. Alchemy filling in Deathstorm's shoes. I definitely think we will get another Killer Frost episode before the season is over. Maybe she even turns into the actual Killer Frost. Who knows for sure yet? But I think that she is going to have some sort of I don't know what it's going to be. I think it's going to be some sort of transformation where she gets more of the attributes of Killer Frost. Maybe the hair keeps going, the lips, we'll see what happens for sure. But I really like how they did that. It was so fun. Again, it was really funny. It looks like she's gonna die. I was just so funny. I was cracking up. Now, this, again, we'll have to talk about this. So Barry phases this train through the debris of the crash, and it was really cool to see this because it was kind of a New 52 Easter egg. If you haven't read New 52, not a lot of people liked it. But anyway, New 52, this happened in the Flash run in there. There was a plane that Barry vibrated at and, caused it to phase through this bridge, as you can see here from this image. So it was really cool to see them borrow that and kind of throw it right in the episode. I liked it. I like when they do things like that because it's really cool to see them side by side, comics versus TV show, and it's just kind of bringing the Flash comics to life. Wally got a big win again this episode. He transferred blood, so he learned how to phase. So he transferred the blood of himself. Speedster's blood tends to draw back powers, especially these powers that will kill anyone. That's how Iris survived. So Barry transferred not Barry, Wally transferred his powers, or his blood, with his powers, and it was really cool to see him take down his this was his big metahuman takedown, so I like seeing him kind of get this big win. Iris is still alive, thanks to not only Caitlin, but to Wally again as well, so I like how they've kind of tied this in here. It was a really good ending. I like how it happened, and I really think that Iris, I like Candace Patton this season. She's really giving her all, and she's just done a spectacular job, so props to you, Candace Patton. You are the real MVP here. Now, let's talk about the tease that we got at the end of the episode. So, Wally, of course, we see him doing his whole phasing trick as he phases through this wood wall. That was really cool, like, just seeing him phase without the costume. I'm like, oh, hey, I can phase now. Like, I can do this. It's an actual thing. So, I like that. But we get this huge tease at the end of the episode, and it's teasing Gorilla City. So, I'm going to make an explainer video. I've been trying to do that, but I've had so many things get in the way. So, I'm going to do an explainer video explaining what is happening with not only Gorilla City, but with Grodd. Solivar, the character, the other gorilla from the comics, you might know him. He's coming to the show as well. He's going to be in the episode. Jessie Quick runs in. She teases, hey, my dad's been kidnapped. He's taken to Gorilla City. He was taken there. So we'll have to see what happens. There's going to be a 2-part episode with Grodd, and everyone's going to go over to see what all the hoopla is about Gorilla City and Earth 2. So, huge adventure. I cannot wait, but we're going to have to wait. Next week, there will not be a Flash episode. They're going to be doing the Flash episode, starting the 2-part episode in 2 weeks. So, we'll have to see what's going on with Grodd then. But until that, I will do an explainer video kind of explaining what's going on with Gorilla City, Solivar, Grodd, what's going to happen. I can't wait. The promo looks fantastic, and it's going to be great. I cannot wait to see Grodd. But what do you guys think about this episode? What was your favorite part? Do you want Caitlin to become Killer Frost? Do you think Cisco will learn any new abilities from his vibe powers? And what do you think about Iris telling Joe? Because we didn't talk about that much, but she told Joe about her death in a few months. So what do you guys think about all of this stuff? And what do you guys think about the Grodd episode coming in 2 weeks? Links are there to my other Flash videos. Links are there to my Twitter, Instagram, vlog channel, and gaming channel. Don't forget to like and favorite this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.